Return to 3.
Positive rotation. Ignition. You guys have a nice flight. We'll see you back here.
Welcome to Roll Call, a 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast of the Illinois Air National Guard at Scott Air Force Base. I'm your host, Master Sergeant Brian Ellison. The Roll Call podcast focused on people, mission, and community. Coming up, Lieutenant Colonel Brad Kahrhoff, 126th Logistics Readiness Squadron, tells us how his squadron fits into the wing, what keeps him serving in the 126th, and we'll ask him the hard-hitting question about corn dogs. Coming up this Saturday during drill from 11 to 1 o'clock at the dining facility. It's the Lunch Club. Good time to just come hang out, sponsored by Airmen and Family Readiness and the chaplain's office. Like I said, good time to just come hang out, relax, get to know some folks from around the wing, and maybe even play some games. Sunday at noon at Building 5029 is a Rising Six meeting. The Rising Six is a listed organization designed for growth on an individual level as well as wing cohesion. The group is a great tool for professional development, mentorship opportunities, networking, volunteer, and morale. Airmen that actively participate and come together with their challenges feel empowered to find ways to fix them as a team. It doesn't matter what rank you are, E1 through E6, you're welcome to attend the meeting. That's noon this Sunday, Building 5029. By the way, you can find a lot of this information by signing up for the 126th Military and Family Readiness Resource Roundup. That's at 126.arw.afr.mailbox@us.af.mil. And another thing coming up this Sunday at noon is a retirement briefing. I was talking to Keely just a little bit ago, and she was saying that, if you're in that window 2 to 4 years from retiring, it may be a good idea to take that class, that briefing, and just kind of understand what you can be looking forward to and maybe what you need to start planning on during that retirement brief. That's in room 131 at Building 50. 5,000. I almost said 50,000. Coming up in this week's Look Around the Air Force, Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General C.Q. Brown, has approved more changes to the dress and appearance AFI. Joining us today, Lieutenant Colonel Brad Kahrhoff, the 126th Logistics Readiness Squadron. Sir, thanks for coming on and joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So you guys do a lot at the Logistics Readiness Squadron. What are the main responsibilities of the Logistics Readiness Squadron, and how do you guys fit into the overall mission?
Okay, well, for us, the big thing from a logistics readiness standpoint is that we're responsible for moving people and equipment or things, right? So what the squadron does overall is to drive that mission. We do that. We have 4 distinct flights that fall within the squadron, and each of them do their own things. So with that, we have our material management, are commonly referred to as supply for most of the folks within the wing or outside of our squadron, and that's our biggest flight. We have the deployment and distribution flight, focused on deployment aspects in the movement of personnel, our equipment, our things, and our vehicle management flight and the fuels flight. So those 4. So to break it down a little bit, to kind of give you some kind of perspective of how they fit into the wing's mission.
Right.
So material management supply. There's 2 different aspects there. We have our asset management section. Okay. And they're responsible for the stocking, storing, issuing, and managing of the DoD assets that we receive, right? So it's our warehouse. They also responsible for outfitting and maintaining wing personnel uniform and operational equipment requirements. So you like enlisted like yourself,
right?
You need a new uniform, you come over and talk to us, right? We're managing that process. Or if you have the specialty equipment stuff like the steel toe boots, the cold weather gear, like we're managing that. They also provide that support for the readiness spare package kits, the RSP kits, and that's your like your mobile warehouse, if you will, for like aircraft parts. So we deploy, right? We have those spare kits that are there to support that flying mission for a sustained amount of time, 30, 60 days. So we have a finite amount of parts in that kit, but that's what we manage.
And that's over. Is that kind of kept at maintenance? Is that where that's kept?
So we keep it in our warehouse.
Oh,
those
okay.
kits, right?
Right.
Maintenance drives the show on what they need and work with us and how we fill those kits, and we actually use those day to day to support the mission as well.
Okay.
But we have a responsibility to manage that and keep that ready to go. The other piece we do right there in the main warehouse with the asset management is the weapons vault. So managing the mobility weapons for
Oh, really?
folks. So when you deploy, if you need a weapon, you're coming to us to get that, as well as the mobility bags, your AVC bags. And then the other side of the supply is located over there with maintenance, and that's the maintenance support or the customer service section. Both of them reside in maintenance.
Oh, okay.
The maintenance support, right? It's just, as it says, it's providing a direct maintenance, direct support, supply support for maintenance, and make sure they get their parts in a timely manner and help them go through that process. And we're working with the SCOW on the other side of the base to manage that and to get that to them as quickly as possible.
Does that help having the SCOW? Does that help having the SCOW so close?
Of course, right? And it helps. It's a sister squadron within our wing as an active associate over there. Having somebody we can reach out to and talk to, right?
Yeah.
No doubt. So we also provided a customer service. So if you have anything you want to order through the supply system, pencils and stuff like that, right? My customer service section is helping you get that ordered and to get that over to you. And the last piece we do over there, as we look at how we support the wing's mission, we manage the equipment for the wing. So those 17 units we have out there, the equipment assets they have, whether for mobility or right here at home station use, my equipment manager is managing that on behalf of the wing. So that's supply.
Oh, wow.
So as we go forward, and as I said, we have 4 units, so we go over to our deployment distribution section, 2 totally different functions fall within that flight.
Okay.
Deployments, the commonly referred to as the installation deployment readiness cell.
Okay.
So those are the folks over there that receive the taskings. We have any type of deployment taskings.
So they're over at they're in that 5029 building?
Yeah, yes, that's where they reside.
Okay.
So they don't just look at deployment taskings, which is a big piece of it, in ensuring that the wing can meet those requirements. They're overseeing the readiness requirements or the readiness reporting for the wing. They also oversee WRM, if we were to have that, the base support plan, support agreement management. So it's a pretty big responsibility over there in what they do. They manage that on behalf of the wing. A lot of times going direct to the wing commander to ensure it's being managed in an appropriate fashion.
Wow. That and there's more?
And there's more.
And wait, there's more.
Yes, the distribution section within that flight, that's your air and ground trans. So you think about ground transportation, that's your You Drive It fleet. They help provide that support, bus support. If you need any, requests to move assets, whether it's with a bus or a vehicle or
Sure.
with a forklift, they're doing that. And then our air trans, which is your airport functions, although very small for us, we only have 2 people there.
Oh, really?
But they, as traditionals, but they provide that passenger terminal or aerial ATOC or that support you provide on the flight line to ensure that the cargo is airworthy prior to being loaded onto aircraft and processed and the people to manifest them to get onto the aircraft. That's what that small little section does for us. And then the last that rounds up the distribution is our traffic management office, and that's managing the movement of people and cargo as well. If you're going to go to our pipeliners, right, going to basic
Sure.
training, they're managing that and getting that transportation requirements set up.
Wow.
So, yeah, a lot, right?
Yeah.
Doing pretty diverse. Moving over to fuel flight, pretty easy, right?
Oh, fuel, sure.
So looking
Forgot
at
about them.
Yeah. They're managing the ground and air fuel, right? The aircraft fuel.
Oh, okay.
So the MoGas or diesel that we use for our vehicles, our generators,
Yeah.
manage the storage and issuing of that, as well as the aircraft fuel, the storage and issuing of that, making sure it's of quality and meets the requirements to use. And last but not least is our vehicle management flight, and that they're responsible for the wing's vehicle fleet, and that's the maintenance, accountability, and ensuring that they're in operational form to perform the mission. So,
Wow. So, as the commander, how do you keep track of something like that?
my SMEs. So for me, I heavily depend on my senior NCOs and my officers that manage that on my behalf. Impossible, right, to have the depth of knowledge in each of those areas. But I have chiefs and my superintendents and those senior NCOs and NCOs that are doing it. So day in and day out, the phenomenal team that I have, I couldn't be prouder of what they do for me, and incredible people.
What, so, how many, because you've got a lot of moving parts, and logistics isn't just a weekend job. So what are you, how many full-timers do you have then? So
44.
Wow.
And that includes my 906 members that are my operational direction. So, I have 4 different statuses of full-time members. You have your Title 32 dual status technicians.
Sure.
I have my AGRs, Active Guard Reserve, Title 32. I have my 906, Title 10, and then I have my Title 5 civilians.
Sure.
And it comprises about 50-50 technician AGR now from the dual status side.
Right.
And I have 5 Title 5 and 8. Make that 9 Title 10 members. So.
How do the 906th Air Refueling Squadron troops fall in with the Logistics Readiness Squadron? So,
it's seamless as they fall in. You couldn't, you can't tell the difference between if it was a 126 member or a 906 member. They fall into two of our flights. Our material management, so within the supply side.
Okay.
So we have personnel within asset management or in the MSS side of the house. And then we have 906 members within our fuels flight. Really critical right now in our fuels flight with the low manning we have. So ensuring we can make the operational needs day to day on a full-time side. So great bunch of airmen.
Sure. Do those, those 906 those guys must come in handy at times just because you are critically manned in some of those spots.
Absolutely. With the material management, they come in handy because we have a 2-shift operation to support maintenances and the flying 2-shift operation there. So without them, it would be extremely challenging to meet that on a day-to-day basis, especially within my fuels flight, which is about 50% manned right now on a full-time side. A little bit higher on the traditional side, the mill side, but both of them pretty critically manned. So they provide absolutely necessary to make our mission day to day.
How do you ensure the readiness of your squadron in case emergencies or contingency operations come up? Especially, a couple of years ago, we had civil disturbances that kind of it seems like some things just kind of popped up out of nowhere, So how do you handle that? So, no different, I presume, than any other commander. For me, it's ensuring that we have our airmen prepared to support that as we're required, to go out the door on a moment's notice. So make sure the personnel affairs are taken care of. And then the other aspect is looking at our people in their training, in the equipment, in their condition. So I use my unit deployment manager, my unit training manager. They oversee those training requirements, whether it's a deployment related matter or just from an upgrade training standpoint. And working with those section or flight leads to get into the weeds, make sure they can meet those mission capability statements to meet our UTCs. Sure. And my UTM is also my readiness POC, right? So it works well, and every month I go into the system and I'm reporting on that, where we're at in a readiness standpoint to meet at a moment's notice. So heavily rely upon my UTM, and my readiness reporting POCs to manage the process, but it ultimately relies on my flight leadership, those chiefs and superintendents,
to develop those plans and make sure they're airmen ready to go.
So we're talking with the Logistics Readiness Squadron Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Brad Kahrhoff, and the 126th Maintenance Group, sir. They just received, the highest mission capability rate in the KC-135 fleet for the Air Force overall. How it's not just the mission, it's not just the maintenance group that makes that happen. It's kind of falls on it kind of falls on the Logistics Readiness Squadron as well. How do you guys play a part in that?
Absolutely, yes. I would say we play a critical part in that process. If the planes never break, then that mission capable rate is phenomenal. No issues, no concerns. Unfortunately, they're old aircraft and parts do break. So when that happens, they're working with my maintenance support section, that supply piece, to get those parts on order in a timely manner. And then my maintenance support section is obviously doing the inputs into the system, working with the supply chain operations group of the wing over there to resource those assets, but not just leaving that part to the supply chain operations group, but they're also actively looking out there. What is the best place to get those parts?
Sure.
The SCOW may resource something from, let's say, the East Coast.
Okay.
And we're getting towards the middle of the day. My guys will do the extra legwork and look and say, hey, maybe there's an asset on the West Coast, so that we can catch them before the end of their duty day to get that out the door and on its way over to us, so we get it a day earlier, right? So that's kind of how they work those background pieces, working with those support agencies outside of our wing, the SCOW or other wings, to identify it, working with their TMO or supply section to make sure they're pulling that part timely and getting it on that FedEx truck. So that's what my supply team does. And then once it arrives here, I have my distribution section, TMO, right?
Yeah.
They receive that part off the FedEx truck, they process it in, it gets to the ground trans person who would deliver it if it's a MICAP part, within those 15 or within that hour. So it gets over to maintenance, gets in their hands, their capable hands.
Yeah.
And they're phenomenal maintenance technicians they have over there to make sure that aircraft is back up and ready to go. So.
Wow. You were talking about manning and your drill status guardsmen. Those are the folks that come in on the weekend. What are the challenges of being a commander in the National Guard, knowing that you don't get to see your troops every day?
It's a big challenge. We're held to same standards as the active component when it comes to what training requirements are levied upon those different AFSCs. What we don't have is the touch points on a day-to-day basis. So it's the biggest thing I think we'd find at any organization is communication. Which is absolutely critical here. Communicating with your full-time staff to make sure you're prepared for the weekends, or with those traditional guardsmen that happen to be your chiefs in leadership roles, ensuring they have the information they need to go into a UTA weekend so that they can plan and prepare their airmen to do the upgrade training or proficiency training that they need to make sure we're ready to go. So it's a fairly difficult challenge when it comes to the traditional force, but I believe my team does a pretty good job doing that, and it's something that I focus each month about how I can do it better, how we can get after that to do it better.
What's your preferable way to communicate with your troops while you're during the month?
So during the month, if it's going out, our full-time staff, right, could be a various number of ways.
Right.
With the traditional, if I find it easiest to send a text message out. All right, so that initiates a discussion. Most folks, have the phone.
Yeah.
We also use that Air Force Connect app.
Oh, okay.
So each week, we have my weekly staff meetings on Wednesday morning, and then we push those slides out there onto Air Force Connect app, so that they have the ability to look at, if they choose, what's going on operationally or even administratively, all the other things on each week, so they're aware of what's going on. So again, I seek input. I do every year, I sit down with my airmen, NCOs, senior NCOs, and we do kind of like what's it called? Give an opportunity to
sensing session.
A session, yeah, we'll call it that. To highlight some of the challenges, concerns they have.
Sure.
And it's ultimately it normally goes down to communication, and I'm looking at solutions, and that was a solution that we presented this year that we implemented.
Well, that's great. What are some of the squadron's achievements that you are most proud of since you've been commander?
Since I've been commander, so 2 years I've been in the seat.
Wow, has it been that long?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, April.
Does it feel like 2 years?
It doesn't. I mean, it's flown by. It's been a really busy 2 years. But looking the proudest moment, I look back the last 6 years and all of the national level awards that our unit has achieved or earned. And in 2021, we won the Air Reserve Component Based Logistics Activity of the Year Award, both at the Guard Bureau and the HAF level. So if I had to pick just one,
right,
that would be the unit award that we won that year. And it's just a testament to what my airmen do day in and day out at every level. Definitely not something I do.
Sure.
Yeah, it's definitely it's them and how they execute on a day-to-day basis, and to be highlighted, it's something that I found to be I'm very proud of.
Sure. How do you attribute that? I mean, your leadership had to do something with that. What do you think, in your opinion, that maybe you do that maybe help them get to that level? I
don't know if it's anything special that I do. I believe if you looked across the board, the other commanders do the same thing. I allow my airmen to lead at every level. I empower them to do that, and I believe, I empower my senior NCOs and those supervisions at every level to empower their airmen to do the same thing. I don't know, if that's attributed to that, or if I'm just extremely fortunate to have, some brilliant airmen that are hardworking and go-getters that get after the mission, and I just happen to highlight it better than other units do.
I understand that. Can you talk about some of the challenges that come with managing such a critical function? Because I know we're all dependent, all the groups and all, but you guys are kind of the basis of. We can't function without Logistics Readiness Squadron, especially during times of crisis. How do you, what are some of those challenges?
So communications, it's a big challenge. So, one of the critical roles we provide as an LRS in times of crisis, or you look contingency operations, is we are that mobility arm for the wing, right? We're that mobility machine. Right. Or moving the people and cargo. So we talked a little bit earlier about that deployment section. So in times of crisis, and we're standing up to move out, and we're moving a lot of people quickly, or a lot of things quickly, the deployment control center that's managed by the IDRC is working directly on behalf of the wing commander. So, and providing that support. So they're identifying the requirements, they're setting up the timelines to meet those movement timelines, identifying any kind of issues, concerns, and communicating that across the wing to the respective commanders to ensure that they're aware and getting their members and equipment prepared to go out the door. So with that, and I'm kind of in the middle of that as the LRS commander. Right. But definitely responsible to ensure that we're prepared to execute. Right. So, but going through that in a time of crisis, it's the communication, effective communication, identifying those issues or shortfalls to those key stakeholders in the wing, and making sure the wing commander is apprised of what's going on.
I'm going back to that manpower question real fast. And we're talking about challenges. Do you find you have to call in the traditional guardsmen during the month to maybe help backfill some of that?
At times, yes. Yes, so we have. Dependent on what's going on. There are times in which you have to call them in during the week. A lot of times it's our after-hour or weekend support, and ensuring that whatever those training or mission needs are, is bringing those folks in. It's not always full-time members that are doing that. Right. It's bringing those traditional guardsmen in and ensuring that the wing meets that mission.
So you were talking about also, you guys work the same kind of shifts as the maintenance group. They work 2 shifts. So what are you guys' hours? You guys what are you guys' hours?
So 7 to 4:30 our typical day-to-day,
Right.
and then we have that swing shift that comes in. It's really dependent on the timing, but it's about 2 to 12:30 or 2 to midnight in that range there.
And that depends on the ISO doc, the isochronal inspections?
Not isochronal, right? Typically not. It's usually meeting, it's meeting the flying mission requirement. Now, isochronal could play a part in that. They have a swing shift that's coming in.
Sure.
We're supporting that. So they have the established times that we're here, and we're here to meet whatever or support those mission needs.
Who are some people that have been an influence on you in the military?
So to narrow down to the military members would be extremely difficult.
Sure.
I had so many great supervisors, colleagues, subordinates, along the way, right? People that I've worked with that influenced me in some way, shape, or form to get to where I am today. But I would say that the biggest influence has been my family. Prior to me joining, I had a brother and a brother-in-law that were in the aircraft maintenance squadron or maintenance squadron over there.
Sure.
And they kind of gave me some insights of what this wing provided, not just what maintenance, what the wing could provide.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people that, from a traditional side have jobs outside of it. At the time in my life, I was out of college. I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Right.
But through discussion with them, they kind of provided that, hey, there's good opportunities out here. So I took that leap of faith and I joined because of that. And they really, gave me the foundation coming in as, great, troops and airmen they were. Gave me a good name, so it helped me get in. And once I got in, taking an opportunity to apply for and being accepted as an aircraft maintenance officer.
Oh, wow.
And then, transition over here. But most recently, I would say that my wife is probably my biggest influence of what I do.
Sure.
As a prior FSS commander, Deputy Mission Support Group Commander, she's somebody that I definitely rely on for advice and bounce some things off of and look at how it influences my decisions and what I do with my career.
So what'd you do before you became an officer? Where'd you work at?
So I was I was in the ISO dock. So I was a crew chief.
Oh, okay.
So within the maintenance squadron over there. I was on the traditional side, and I was also a temporary technician on the aircraft maintenance side as a crew chief on a flight line. So I did that for 4 years as a temp tech prior to being commissioned as a maintenance officer in the maintenance squadron.
So when you took over as squadron commander for the LRS, were you already in the Logistics Readiness Squadron?
Yes. So I came over. I crossed over to LRS, logistics, back in 2013, January 2013, and kind of worked my way up from there as a installation deployment officer, or wing deployment officer, to the director of operations, the operations officer, and then prior to me becoming the commander in 2021.
What's been a memorable moment for you in your military career?
I have a few. I mean, there's
Yeah,
a lot, right?
sure.
As a young airman, every time we're out here, and what I try to convey my airmen, the whys by what we do. So I had an opportunity as a crew chief to do a medevac run out of Bagram.
Oh, wow.
So that gave me the purpose of the why. As we're out there on the airfield and seeing those critically injured soldiers coming on board, so we're bringing it back to Ramstein for medical treatment. It gave me a purpose of why I do what I do, and maintaining an aircraft that provides that support. Right, that without a doubt, something that to this day, it's something that I am extremely proud to be a part of. It gives me a purpose of being out here. The second memorable moment would be when I commissioned, and my mom was, available there to witness it.
Right.
She passed away a year after,
I'm
I
sorry.
commissioned, but awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
So I look back, I'm like, man, that's it. Like, that's pretty cool. And then most recently in 2020, when I came back from my deployment, a very strenuous, grueling, 16-hour day, every day type of deployment, and having my family meet me at the airport when I get back. Those are like 3 moments that stick out in my mind.
So you touched on it a little bit. What or why did you decide to join? I'm going to step back. So you just talked about you graduated college. What was your degree in?
Nothing it does with logistics. So mathematics. So I have a degree in mathematics.
Holy cow.
Right. So I think it all relates. You
Yeah.
look at what you do day in, day out. You analyze what you do, and that's what you do in a career filled with math. I think I majored in it just because I had so many credit hours in it. But it wasn't really like a passion of being a math teacher.
Right.
I explored the whole actuarial science, took that first test, but I couldn't see myself doing that the rest of my career. I really didn't know what I was going to do when I graduated. And I think I was just fortunate, really, to have people that were engaged in the military within this unit. They gave me an opportunity to be here, and I love doing what I do. I love working with the people I work with.
Why did you just decide to join the Air National Guard?
Well, to go back to what I said earlier, an opportunity, my family being a part of the Air National Guard, but an opportunity for, to provide for my family, to serve the country, and to give me, potential employment opportunities, whether it was with the Guard or just meeting those contacts in those traditional guardsmen that have those employment opportunities outside of here, right? My family kind of spoke to that. My brother did, my brother-in-law, and I saw that and said, why not? And I always had a kind of an ambition to serve my country, and kind of fell into place.
Right. Were you able to, what benefits were you able to get your college paid for or anything like that after you joined?
No. I could have, but I'd already been through college, and I already paid for all my college by the time.
You did?
Yeah, so I didn't have a whole lot of loans.
Good.
In hindsight, I definitely would have joined prior.
Right.
And mitigated, paying for school while I was going through college, and something I would advocate for every airman to do. But I think that the biggest benefit is it's given me, a career. Mm-hmm. It's given me a purpose. And something, a job that I love doing. So, how do I have known that, almost 18 years ago? I wouldn't have, but I took that leap of faith, and this paid off for me.
Well, you probably had the opportunity to go to you probably could have gone to another wing, or is there any, what made you decide to stay? What's made you decide to stay in the 126th?
The people. Been able to work with some really good people throughout my entire career, whether it was enlisted with an aircraft maintenance, or since I've commissioned with an aircraft maintenance, and the commanders and supervisors that I had there, and really the airmen that I worked next to day in and day out, always been great people, and transition over to LRS has been no different. So it's just the people.
How many family members do you have in the wing?
In the wing right now, I have 2 brothers, a brother-in-law, and my wife. So I guess that's 4 total. Okay. 5 including myself.
Yeah. And we have to say that Colonel Kahrhoff is the husband of our public affairs officer, Major Luann Kahrhoff. So I got to ask you, what's coming up for you guys this drill?
So this drill, typical drill when it comes to normal, proficiency upgrade training, but there are a couple things that we've been focused on recently, and that's the readiness, not just for our squadron, but for the wing. So as you're aware of, we have the big readiness exercise in September. Part of that is ensuring we can get out the door, that mobility machine.
Sure.
So my plans office, or my deployment distribution section, is doing some unit cargo increment monitor training for the respective units throughout the wing, to ensure their members have the ability to build and process their cargo. And we're also providing cargo deployment function training, and that's the mobility machine itself, to the augmentees. Like I said, we have a very small footprint of area porters, so we rely on the wing to provide us augmentees to manage that function. So we're providing both of those training opportunities this coming UTA. And then internal to LRS, a focus on readiness as well, and we're doing some PAR team training, looking at how we can communicate and execute those requirements. Chief Mazanik, my SEL, is leading that. So we've been focused on that over the last few months, and can continue doing that up until the readiness exercise in September, to make sure our airmen are ready to go.
All right, one more hard-hitting question, sir. It's National Corn Dog Day. Now, I'm sure you don't, your wife probably doesn't allow you to eat corn dogs in the house, but really, mustard or ketchup on your corn dog?
So if I had to choose, it'd be ketchup.
You're a good man, sir. I don't know who would put mustard on one of those things. All right, thank you, sir, for coming in. That's Lieutenant Colonel Brad Kahrhoff, the 126th Logistics Readiness Squadron. I should have asked you, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I appreciate you having me over today to highlight what my squadron does for this wing and the incredible airmen that I have the ability to serve with each and every day and serve for. So it's, thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General C.Q. Brown Jr., recently approved a list of changes recommended by the 102nd Uniform Board. Cold weather headbands are now an approved accessory, and a total of 4 badges can be worn above the U.S. Air Force tape on the OCP uniform. Olive drab green backpacks are also authorized to wear with any uniform combination. Additionally, parents in uniform may no longer have to wear a hat or salute at child development centers. One of the latest changes to dress and appearance rules lets installation commanders declare CDC's no hat, no salute zones. Secretary of Defense Lloyd J. Austin III announced a new plan with 6 initiatives to improve life for military families. The measures include universal pre-kindergarten at Department of Defense education activity schools, flexible spending accounts for dependent health care, and new military parental leave benefits. Other initiatives cover improvements to the Exceptional Family Member Program and expansion of financial assistance for spouses to get up to $4,000 in aid for a professional license, certificate, or associate's degree. Austin says DoD will work with Congress and the states for implementation and support. F-22A Raptors from Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson, Alaska, are the first 5th-generation fighter aircraft to land and operate out of the Philippines. They traveled to Clark Air Base to integrate and train with FA-50 multi-role fighters from the Philippine Air Force. Captain Joe Ballman, an F-22 pilot, says the Raptor's ability to establish air dominance combined with the FA-50's precision strike capability makes a lethal combo. Pacific Air Forces and the Philippine Air Force train together regularly to enhance stability in the Indo-Pacific region. That's your look around the Air Force. I'm Staff Sergeant Milton Hamilton.
Veterans, service members, and their families can reach the National Suicide Prevention Hotline by dialing 988 and pressing 1 to be connected to the Veteran Crisis Line. Suicide has no single cause, and no single preventative action, treatment, or cure will eliminate every individual suicide. But research shows we need to reframe our thoughts and understanding of suicide from isolated outcomes to an integrated primary prevention approach that focuses on root causes. So it's not just one event that leads someone to feeling suicidal. It's just a combination of things, just one on top of another. Then finally, we see someone in crisis. Veteran service members and their families can reach out to the National Suicide Prevention Hotline by calling 988 and pressing 1 to be connected to the Veterans Crisis Line. And you can also text that line as well. You can find all of our links on Linktree. That's linktr.ee/126ARW. If you're watching YouTube, you can also download this on your favorite podcast app. If you want to pass along some information, maybe you have some information you'd like to let us know about an event in your squadron, you can email roll call 126.arw.pa.mm.org@us.af.mil. Thanks for listening to Roll Call, a 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast focused on people, mission, and community. I'm Master Sergeant Brian Ellison.